Hello, I am Mike V from the Wrestling Society Network, and welcome to Mike V's Top 10s. As we get ever so slightly closer to WrestleMania, I thought, hey, why not do a list? Because we haven't done one of those in a while. I can't believe that WrestleMania season is upon us again. WrestleMania 42, it just seems like it just came out of nowhere. And I gotta say, I'm not too particularly fond of the build to this one. I'm not really excited for this one. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of good things that can come out of it. As I was looking through of what could we do a list on, a ranking of things people have done, the greatest WrestleMania moments, the greatest ranked WrestleManias, greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. I particularly thought, hey, this time let's do something just ever so slightly not different. I mean, people have done this before, but now as we rank these main events, we're going to be ranking them from worst to best. And we are going to be including, because since the dreaded pandemic era of WrestleMania 36, in which it was, we now have 2 night main events. So yes, I will be including 2 of those. Some which have been really great. Some that you could argue night 1 should have been night 2's main event. Nonetheless, we will be ranking all of them. Some are legendary, some that are just okay, and that's okay. We'll be ranking these from worst to best in hopefully what is my unbiased opinion. Sorry if it's not, but we're gonna have a good time doing this. Before we begin, make sure you are subscribed to WSN on all social platforms. Make sure that you stay tuned for the app that's going to be coming out soon from WSN. Keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be a great time there. In the meantime, let's get this. Let's go. Right? What does Bear say? Gather round, Forest family, for it is I'm not Professor Bear, but it's me. I'm Mike from the Wrestling Society Network, and these are the top 47 WrestleMania main events of all time. Yeah, we'll go with that one. Number 47, WrestleMania 9, Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, and also Hulk Hogan. Oh, WrestleMania 9. Cursed WrestleMania, to say the least. Undertaker fought Giant Gonzalez, so that was a thing with the streak, I guess. But then we come to the main event, Bret Hart and Yokozuna. Why is this number 47? Well, look, I mean, Bret and Yoke put on a wrestling match as well as they could, and it's so very sad that any Bret Hart match would be ranked this low. But really, it's the shenanigans that happened after. Bret Hart loses the title to Yokozuna, and who comes out but Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan had go-away heat at this point. Nobody wanted to see this, and yet we could have had a very nice, lengthy title reign with Yokozuna. Instead, we have Hulk Hogan in yet another WrestleMania main event, who drops a leg. Mr. Fuji throws whatever that magical powder was, accidentally hits Yokozuna. Hogan takes advantage, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. And Hulk Hogan is your champion again. It didn't really do anything for me. It didn't really do anything for the people watching. Whoop-de-doo. Number 46, WrestleMania 11, Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Lawrence Taylor is an NFL legend, and I wish that he would have just stayed in that realm. It was a great spectacle to promote. You know, at the time, what WrestleMania was, Vince, all the way from WrestleMania 1 up to this point, one of those special attractions. I mean, even to this day, celebrities always get involved with WrestleMania. But this to be the main event, it didn't just hit. You had so many, I think so much potential in other matches on the card that could have been the main event. And honestly, I think people know this match happened, but if you would ask somebody, hey, what was the main event at WrestleMania 11? I don't think they would say Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. It's very forgettable. It was a match that just probably shouldn't have happened. A lot of shenanigans, obviously, but at the end of the day, they decided to pull the trigger on that, and that's what happened. Number 45, WrestleMania 27, The Miz versus John Cena. I get it, but I wasn't watching around this time. It was just, you heard about this. The Rock came back. That was the biggest thing about this whole entire build-up, was that The Rock was hosting WrestleMania 27. The Rock hadn't been in WWE since, this was what, 2000, I don't even know, but he hadn't been in the company. I don't think he had wrestled a match since 2004 at that point. So that was the biggest thing. Super Cena on the run of his life. Look, all this was just to start building towards Rock versus Cena. The seeds were set. They were sowed, if you will, not set. And yeah, it was a weird time for WWE. The Miz almost cracks his skull open at the end of that restart. The restart itself, Cena just winning another title. It did not make sense. And I love Mike Mazarian. I think that he is one of the greatest talkers. I think he's one of the greatest characters. He's reinvented himself, the longevity, the fact that he's still in WWE to this day should say something. The Miz is great, but at that time, Miz being champion, Cena in the main event, blah. Number 44, WrestleMania 34, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns will forever try to be the Temu version of Stone Cold versus The Rock. They were trying so hard to push this forever feud between them that I have seen this match so many times. And even at this point, we had WrestleMania 31. We'll get to that eventually. But nobody wanted this match, and more importantly, nobody wanted to see this match end the way that it did. It was supposed to be a surprise with Brock winning and walking away. It's the famous, if you've ever seen the behind the scenes, him walking back through Gorilla and throwing the Universal title at Roman Reigns. Look, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for another championship. It was okay. And we are right now in the okay bad section of this list. I can't wait to get to the parts where it's more exciting, but it was a blah main event. I mean, there was the build that they tried to do. It was the same build they did over and over and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And yeah, it wasn't it. Number 43, WrestleMania 32, Roman Reigns versus Triple H. This didn't need to happen. Roman Reigns was still trying to find himself as a main eventer at this time. He was just shoved into it, discovering himself, doing the big dog gimmick. It was this hybrid Shield type character, and nobody was connecting with it. The best thing that they did during that time was in November leading up to this was they got Vince McMahon involved, and they were trying to do a storyline with that. I remember when he won the championship from Sheamus on Raw. It was a good moment. People started to connect, and then they just kept shoving it down the throat of people. The main event, if you wanted it to be, should have been the red hot Dean Ambrose at the time, who literally was in that last portion of the Royal Rumble with Triple H, who had no reason of being in the Royal Rumble in the first place. For him to win a championship, so predictable, knowing that we were just building up to Triple H versus Roman Reigns. Everything was stale. It wasn't even a good match. The crowd literally went flat. There was people leaving. It was one of the worst WrestleMania's main events of all time. I mean, honestly, it was really hard for me not to put this as the worst. But just because of the time and the era and some of the things that happened during the match, go back and, well, actually, no, don't go watch this match. But if you see highlights of it, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. I think there was a bit of a good story leading up to it, but at the end of the day, it's another Roman main event that just fell flat. Number 42, WrestleMania 41 Night 2, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. You had everything. You had everything in the palm of your hand with this. You turn John Cena heel. You could have went on one of the greatest storylines ever told in WWE history. And instead, you do stale Cena promos, stale Cena build-up, and a very stale Cena match in what would be his last WrestleMania ever. I don't care what anybody says. The Rock not being there ruined this whole thing. The storyline fell flat on its face, and they insulted the intelligence, which I don't have much of, so the little bit that I had left completely was insulted with what they tried to do here. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena could have been an amazing storyline with heel Cena running rampant, and it wasn't. The match sucked. It was slow-paced. Not that you need fast-paced matches all the time in a main event. I'm not saying that. It just didn't hit for anyone, and I hate that was John Cena's last WrestleMania moment. I'm glad that he was able to win the 17th World Championship, etching his name in history forever. But unfortunately, there will always be a stain on this Mania of what could have been. Number 41, WrestleMania 2, Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy. Look, the 80s were a wild time. Vince loved his big, bulky guys, and we're gonna just all of that saying right now. I don't want to mention Vince too much in this, but I will say he tried with this. I understand the Hulkamania running wild, the big opponent. You were just building up to that Andre match the next year. It was a fine match, but it would not survive a modern day rewatch. There'd be a lot of eye rolling, as I just did. Look, that Hulkamania era of WrestleMania was fine, but very predictable. Very same robotic formula of match. It's not the worst, and hence it's not the best. And it's just here. Number 40, WrestleMania 8, Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice. Hogan again, and Sid was just a monster of a man. Look, the crowd was there. They wanted this. Again, it wasn't a horrible match. It wasn't the best match. It can survive a rerun. Justice for Sid. He should not be in the Legacy Hall of Fame. He should be a bona fide Hall of Famer. Why are they doing this to him this year? I don't know. Look, Sid doesn't get credit where credit was due. He carried a lot of good things. He carried a lot of bad things, you know. He's got half a brain, but what more are you gonna do? This match was there. It was fine. It was the main event. I liked some sequences of it, but it wasn't really. It just wasn't my flavor of tea for now, going back and seeing it. But at the time, I could see why this was such a big deal and how much the crowd truly enjoyed it. WrestleMania 7, Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. All right, in the light of everything going on right now, I'm not gonna go too far into what happened with all this. However, who doesn't love war? It became America. Anyway, yeah, this was all about war. So it's up here because it's memorable. It's up here because it was a decent match. Sergeant Slaughter does not get the credit where the credit is due for the matches that he was in, especially with one Terry Bollea. It was the main event of WrestleMania 7. Number 38, WrestleMania 16, Triple H versus The Rock versus Mick Foley versus The Big Show. A McMahon in every corner. Why? Absolutely why? Why was the main event not Triple H versus The Rock in a singles match? Why must they, like, it's like those two must always undermine each other at every given realm, regardless. Triple H and Steph, Vince and The Rock, Shane and Big Show, Linda and Foley. I mean, it wasn't the worst main event ever. There was good spots, good moments. The part that confuses us is that Mick Foley was supposed to retire, and then he came back. The Big Show lost several different matches up to this point, which should not have gotten him in the main event, and he was just thrown in. The Rock and Triple H, you know, it was fine. It was WrestleMania 2000. It was green and it was in California, and that's what I remember about it. The WrestleMania 2000 video game was great for the N64. Give it that. Yeah. Number 37, WrestleMania 18, Triple H versus Chris Jericho. It's going to be hard to follow up The Rock and Hulk Hogan, which should have been the main event of this WrestleMania. I don't know how they did it, you know, and the wind had to be taken out of it. That crowd was so hot, and the fact that it was the match before did them no favors. Obviously, this is Triple H's triumphant return in 2002 from the quad injury. This was always going to be his moment. People knew that. Jericho worked the hell out of this match. They both did the best that they could to try and get it back on, but it just fell flat. I think that if Hogan and Rock is the main event, this is a completely different story, and that match is put way, way up on this list. But because of what it was, because of what they had to follow, you know, that's why it's ranked here. Triple H gets his wonderful World Heavyweight Championship belt back that he loves so much and would revive later on in the year. It was a cool moment. It was a cool moment to see, but at the end of the day, it was just overshadowed, and that happens with main events sometimes. Number 36, WrestleMania 29, John Cena versus The Rock. Once in a lifetime, eh? No, this is twice in a lifetime. It is what it is. Rock comes in as champion. It ended the Punk run that we loved so much. You could debate, should this just have been the two of them again? Did the championship need to be involved? I don't know. It was a good match for a second round. It just kind of feels like you're pawned a little bit when you're told this is once in a lifetime, it'll never happen again, and it literally happens again the next year. That little Rock run, it was fun to see. It was fun to see him back kind of as a semi-full-timer, you know, being there, participating in a bunch of matches. The build-up was subpar, but it happened. Cena's redemption arc gets the championship. I think this is the match where The Rock was injured, so you didn't really get as much out of it. But at the end of the day, we'll never see John Cena versus The Rock again, and the fact that we got to see it twice was at WrestleMania, right? We got to see Rock and Hogan twice, WrestleMania 18, and then No Way Out. No Way Out wasn't really the best version of that. You know, if that would have happened at another WrestleMania, would it have been? I don't know. I think for what it was and being a WrestleMania main event, it worked. Number 35, WrestleMania 25, Triple H versus Randy Orton. This match had great build-up. The story was there. It just fell flat as a match, and that's unfortunate. And if you look back on the whole scenario, the whole time, the main event should have been Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. That is the greatest WrestleMania match in history. I don't care what anyone says. It just is. Yeah, it's sad that is, because it's a fine match. It just fell flat. Again, I think it's that whole, where are you at on the card and what's coming before you? And sometimes I don't think it's meant to be done on purpose, but when you're out on that grand stage, when you're in WrestleMania, people are putting on the best performances of their life. And Hunter and Randy didn't do that for this one. It was a fine main event. You know, the whole story, Randy kicking all of Triple H's family in the head, kissing his wife, you know, building up to that rivalry. The story was great. It's just that the match fell flat, and at the end of the day, it should have been Undertaker and Shawn. Number 34, WrestleMania 38 Night 2, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. So, out of all of their encounters, nobody wanted to see this, but I think it was the stipulation. I think it was the factor of like, this will never happen again, even though it happened 5 months later, SummerSlam, I don't know time, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and I didn't expect the ending. You know, this was, to me, knowing that Brock was a part-timer, it was always Roman was going to win. But it did feel like at that time, when it's like, we're combining titles here, are they actually going to do that? And so there was a little bit of that to it. I thought it was a great match. It wasn't the best, but it had all of the elements that you want in a WrestleMania main event. And I do think that this was the best one out of their trilogy of WrestleMania matches. So that's why it's here. Number 33, WrestleMania 22, John Cena versus Triple H. It was the classic Cena and Triple H rivalry of the time, of the PG era, well, going into the PG era. I thought this match was great. Watching it when I was younger, I was like, I don't like this, but now watching it back, I see the elements. It was the repetitive Super Cena. Well, he wasn't really Super Cena at this time. It was more of like that F you Cena, or let's go Cena, Cena sucks, F you Cena in the main run. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, you know, and I think this was, I believe this was the first time that we saw the STFU to win a main event, which was really cool. He was using it, you know, more frequently, but seeing Triple H tap out, and not had seen that since WrestleMania 20, was really cool. And the WrestleMania 22 stage is legendary. I just feel like, yeah, I feel like this was a culmination of all of the Triple H John Cena mayhem that they did throughout that time. This was definitely one of their better matches, and it was a good main event. It was good. 32, WrestleMania 13, Undertaker versus Psycho Sid. The Dead Man versus Sid, simple story. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, is this not where Sid shit himself? I can't remember. I should have looked this up, but I'm pretty sure this is where he shit himself. It was a fine main event. For that time, it was cool, and I think why it ranked higher up here for me was this was Taker's championship win at a Mania. Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time, so I feel like it was this kind of biased nostalgia thing for me. But for two big men being on the main event at that time, in that era, what I liked most about this is where Undertaker started to show more of the athleticism. This is where he was doing less of the zombie walk around fighting and more of that kind of mixed style you would begin to see later on between the American Badass and the Dead Man Undertaker later on. So yeah, it was a great main event. The crowd reactions were great, and then just the iconic imagery of Undertaker holding the title up on the mat doing his famous pose in the blue lights is just burnt into my head. So great main event. Number 31, WrestleMania 21, Batista versus Triple H. This is up here for nostalgia purposes. Obviously, this year was the shining breakout year as main eventers for both John Cena and Batista. It's unfortunate that both matches did not excel to, I think, what we were trying to expect out of that. Would I have put Cena and JBL in the main event? No, not with the match that they had. I thought that this was fine for the main event. I think what ranks this a little higher is Motorhead bringing Batista out, or I'm sorry, bringing Triple H out to the game, where you could barely hear the words that Lemmy was saying. It's just memorable. And this was Batista's last time using the generic version of his theme song. Saliva was recording, but they weren't able to master it in time for the main event, so they just did that. But yeah, I mean, Batista holding up that championship with the fireworks going off behind him, legendary imagery. You know, the two of them, they had a Batista and Triple H match. And if I'm taking the match elements out of it and ranking it by the main event, this was a good main event. I wish that I could rank this higher, but it, again, kind of like the Triple H and Randy match, everything was there, it just fell flat. And it's sad, but it was still a good match if you go back and watch it. Number 30, WrestleMania 33, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. So the streak's gone at this point. I don't think we knew what to expect, and I don't think anybody expected that this might be Undertaker's last match. And don't get me wrong, the match was not good. I think that it ranks this high for what it was at the time because everyone started to put two and two together of, this is The Undertaker retiring, right? We had that stare down in the Royal Rumble, I think, between Undertaker and Goldberg. It all started with Roman Reigns eliminating The Undertaker. It might have been vice versa. Undertaker might have eliminated Roman Reigns. So, I mean, the reason I like this is that the buildup was good. It made sense. And man, just the heat that this got on Roman. Like, nobody wanted to see this. And that next night on the Raw after Mania, if you remember, just stood in the ring trying to get one word in, and the crowd was just booing. He couldn't. And I think that's where the good character work of Roman Reigns started. He began to understand how to control a crowd, and not saying anything was the best thing to say, and then just leaving it with, this is my yard now, was fantastic. Of course, the legendary imagery, Undertaker leaving his jacket, his gloves, and his hat in the middle of the ring, going over to the side of the barricade and kissing Michelle McCool and his daughter. It's something we hadn't seen. It's like he came out of character for the first time. It was hard to watch. It was very hard to watch. You could tell he was struggling. I thought that the match was okay, and I think that's why it ranks here. In reality, should this match have been ranked probably lower? Maybe. Am I being biased because Undertaker's my favorite wrestler? Also probably. But I think it's more of the moment than anything, which made this a decent main event. Not a great main event, it was a decent main event for the time. Because we didn't know what we were going to get out of it. And the fact that we didn't know what was going to happen, obviously the streak had already been broken at that time. I think people were expecting Undertaker to beat Roman and move on. But Roman beat The Undertaker and put the 2 in the streak. Number 29, WrestleMania 15, Stone Cold versus The Rock. The first time the two icons collided at WrestleMania. I mean, what more do you want? This was The Rock at the pivotal moment of, are you a heel? Are you a face? This was Stone Cold, who was just straight up didn't care. They went out and had a great match, and it is not the most memorable of their trilogy, but it started it. Those two have chemistry like none other. And even though this wasn't the greatest match that the both of them could put on, there were great spots throughout the entire thing. The graphic, I think, is one of the most memorable parts of this match. You know, you had all the elements in between of the referee to, Stone Cold winning, which would set up could The Rock actually beat Stone Cold at WrestleMania? I think we'll find out later, but great main event. Number 28, WrestleMania 35, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. The first women's main event in the modern era in WrestleMania history. Oh, this had everything. It had everything, and they just couldn't execute. I think the biggest thing that people remember is the botched finish at the end with Ronda and Becky, which would later just set up such... Oh, man. Just such a... Ronda Rousey hates professional wrestling. I have no idea why she showed up at Revolution, but... I mean, look. The entrances were amazing. This was a good match up into that botched point. And I think if that botch doesn't happen, and I think if there was a little bit more pace during different areas of the match, this would have ranked a lot higher for me. I thought that all three women, I mean, athletic freaks, all of them, you know, Becky getting her moment as the man, you know, becoming the double champion. It had everything. It just fell short just a little bit, and that is a little upsetting for being the first all-women's main event in WrestleMania history. But at the end of the day, they made history. They went out there, they made history, they put on a good show. It wasn't a horrible match. There were just little instances, nitpicking little things in between that you could go through that could have been better. But at the end of the day, it was a good match, and Becky Two Belts was born. Number 27, WrestleMania 1, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Piper and Orndorff. Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff, great tag team together for this. Again, first WrestleMania main event. Look, you don't know what to expect out of this. Obviously, the celebrity portion is in there. I don't think people expected T to come in like this. Obviously, there was that backstage news and reports of like Mr. T and Piper literally hating each other, and T being scared. I think that Mr. T's daughter even had said something about this in a short... Well, no, I think she's a comedian. I think I saw it on a reel. I don't know. I'm getting older. Mine's going. Look, it was fine. It's the OG main event, and even going back and watching this, like, there's that special feel to it. And I think that's what ranks this high, is that special feel. It's the first ever WrestleMania. It's the first ever WrestleMania main event. It is a star-studded main event at the time. Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper are two of the biggest stars in wrestling. Plus Paul Orndorff is, at the time, one of the biggest stars. And then you bring in the A-Team's Mr. T, pop culture icon at the time. It was the formula for a great main event, and it worked, and they made it work, and that's what ranks this high, especially being the OG main event. Number 26, WrestleMania 36, Night 2, Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. Drew, you just keep getting screwed, and no, we're not doing that WWE.com exclusive Big Show versus Drew McIntyre thing. That never happened. This was the main event, and man, if COVID didn't happen, what this could have been. If there were fans in here for this, oh my, what this could have been. Drew's defining moment, coming back to the WWE a couple years prior in NXT after a great TNA run, reinventing himself, getting jacked as hell. I mean, he had everything, and Brock doing the job for Drew, passing that on. We didn't know if we'd see Brock again after this. Man, it was a great main event. I just wish that he could have had his moment in a stadium, and it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that we had to go through that time, but I think that WWE tried to make the most out of what they could with this main event. And look, it was a great match. If there were fans, this probably would have ranked a lot higher for me. Number 25, WrestleMania 4, Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase. This match, it had it all. I mean, drama, heel tactics, the rivalry itself was great. Man, Macho Man Randy Savage is just an incredible performer, and so is Ted DiBiase. I don't think Ted gets the credit where credit is due, the $1 Million Man. yeah, I mean, the fourth installment, your first Mania main event without Hogan in it. They carried it well. They did what they needed to do for the time. The crowd, I mean, the title being on the line was great. So it was a classic example of great storytelling and what great storytelling can do in a main event. And I think that's one of the biggest things that WrestleMania has been missing is you have the elements there, it's the storytelling starts to fall flat. And if you go back and watch this, it was just there. Number 24, WrestleMania 14, Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels. Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels, height of the Attitude Era, Mike Tyson as the special enforcer. This is everything you want. Now, obviously, it wasn't the greatest main event because of Shawn Michaels' back injuries and other supposed things. Look, it was Stone Cold's defining moment. It was one of the most fun, if that's most fun, it was one of the funner WrestleMania main events of the era. It defined the Attitude Era. This is what the Attitude Era was. It was DX. It was crotch chops. It was middle fingers. It was stomp a mud hole in your ass. It was great. And the whole Mike Tyson turning on DX, counting the 1, 2, 3, holding up Stone Cold's arm, the build up to it of Tyson and Austin, where I really thought Tyson might have killed Stone Cold at one point for one of those things, but everyone came in and did business, and they did business well, and they made a lot of money, and it was a great, thriving time for the WWF. Number 23, WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage. It was the Mega Powers imploding. I mean, come on. It was great. The whole storyline with Elizabeth, the build-up was amazing. The tag team run that they had for a while was great. The title being on the line. Obviously, another Hogan main event. And it's going to be what it is. Hulk Hogan main events were Hulk Hogan main events, but man, the storytelling was there. The two put on a fantastic performance. And I don't think that we could ever forget that ending scene there. Two of the best performers to ever do it in the industry. Number 22, WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Round 2, Electric Boogaloo. The year before that, Hogan ruined it. This year, they did it again because Hogan was gone. And man, they put on a clinic. It was great. This was a Bret Hart Yokozuna match that I think that we wanted from the prior year that just really established kind of what a main event should be. Bret Hart being a technical genius, using the psychology to fight the big man. Obviously, Mr. Fuji getting involved. It was a good main event, and it really, I think, was a redemption. It redeemed itself from the year prior with all the Hogan shenanigans. I think there was a breath of fresh air that was kind of put into the new generation of the WWF at the time with this, and yeah, so great main event. Number 21, WrestleMania 23, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. John Cena and Shawn Michaels put on 2 clinics, and this was one of them, and the other one was when the match went for an hour on Monday Night Raw. This was supposed to be Triple H again. They were going to do Cena and Triple H twice, and then Triple H got injured, so what do? You throw his tag partner in, which had seemed to be a lot of Shawn's career during that latter half of the DX stuff. Fantastic main event. Shawn's selling was great. They had won the tag titles together prior to this too, so I thought the storytelling was there. But yeah, I think John Cena and Shawn Michaels will always put on a clinic in a WrestleMania when they can. Should Batista and Undertaker have been the main event here? It's debatable. I think looking back, if you would have asked me back during that time, I would have said yes. Now looking back to it, I think the flow of the show went great, and it really kind of prepped for the following year's Mania main event, which was good. So yeah, I think this was a fantastic main event for its time. John Cena is not the best wrestler in the world. That's no secret. But man, Shawn Michaels brought out the best in him, which he does with all of the performers that he performs with in the ring. So yeah, great main event. Loved it. Have nothing bad to say about it. Number 20, WrestleMania 19, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. It is no secret, I have said it on this channel so many times before. In my opinion, WrestleMania 19 is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. And I think the reason why it's up for debate is because of the little things that happened in this. If not for Brock trying to do that shooting star press and almost killing himself, I think that this would have been ranked higher for me. If Stone Cold would have not been dehydrated the night before and the planned main event being The Rock and Stone Cold would have went on, this definitely would have been way higher for me. I thought Stone Cold and The Rock's match was a lot better than this one. As a fan of professional and amateur wrestling, this is why I love this main event. It showed the realism. It was two legitimate, athletic, collegiate wrestlers going at it. It showed the sportsmanship, it showed the athleticism, and it made you believe for a split second that you weren't watching something that was scripted. They did great, and the fact that they brought it home the way that they did after Brock landed on his head, phenomenal. You know, Brock Lesnar being dazed and holding the title up was not a great image, but it was a great way to end, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Number 19, WrestleMania 38, Night 1, Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens. Look, Stone Cold was supposed to retire WrestleMania 19. I would have been fine with that. We heard he was coming back. We all heard he was coming back for a match. I don't think there was any better opponent you could have picked than Kevin Owens. And when they both sat down to do Kevin Owens' show, everyone was like, what is this? This is how we're ending it? For Stone Cold Steve Austin, at the age that he was at, with the medical problems that he's had, brawling into the crowd, taking a bump, a vertical suplex nonetheless, onto the concrete. Holy crap. It was... I think that's why it's ranked so high. You didn't expect him to do the things that he was doing in this match. It was mind-blowing, and it was great to see Stone Cold back. I hope he can do one more, but if we leave it at that, I was fine with leaving it at The Rock at 19. But the fact that this is the last Stone Cold match that we got, man, just, it was beautiful. WrestleMania 38, such an underrated WrestleMania. Probably in my top 5 WrestleManias. Great way to end night. Number 18, WrestleMania 28, The Rock versus John Cena. Once in a lifetime, even though we just covered twice in a lifetime. Look, out of the two, this was definitely the better one. The Rock with the goatee, yeah. But it was a great match. I was not expecting The Rock to win. I think everyone fully expected Cena to win that. Now knowing in hindsight that they were setting up a second match, sure, makes all the sense in the world. The Rock performing it from his family in his home state, it was a nostalgic feel that I think tried and was well done in replicating the Hogan Rock match of 18. I think they did a fantastic job with that match. Number 17, WrestleMania 40, Night 1, Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. What a mess WrestleMania 40 was, but somehow pulled it off. Somehow they pulled everything off. The Rock's first match back since WrestleMania 32, I think, against Eric Rowan, which wasn't really a match. The elements were there, and then the Seth and Cody teaming up thing was just mind-blowing to us, especially with that amazing rivalry they had. Look, WrestleMania in Philly warms my heart, man. Warms my heart that it was there. But yeah, I wasn't expecting this match to be this good, and it was great, especially with the bloodline rules on, and that replica image of Cody sitting the same way he sat at WrestleMania 39 after that. Now, we all knew Cody was winning. Come on. Like, there was no doubt in our minds, but what would come after was set up because of this, and I thought it was amazing. Number 16, WrestleMania 39, Night 2, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. This was supposed to be Cody's moment. This was supposed to be it. This was supposed to be when he won. And when Roman Reigns won, oh my gosh, just go back and watch the YouTube reactions. I wish I was recording my reaction at the time. I was stunned that they would make that decision. Man, Cody had all the adrenaline in his soul. Something Cody Rhodes was pushing him right there, right to the top. And to see him sitting there in disbelief, everyone was in disbelief, was insane. And the match was great. The run-ins from the Usos and Solo, it was a great main event. And I don't have it higher, I think, just because of what it was and what it would lead up to. But in retrospect, see, I'm speechless now to this. In retrospect, it was I just think it should have been Cody's night, which is why probably it ranks a little lower here and not in the higher tier. But man, great main event. Number 15, WrestleMania 41, Night 1, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. Should this have been Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Jon Moxley? Yes, but we'll probably never get that again in our lifetime, and that's fine. So the Punk in his first ever WrestleMania main event. It was a tearjerker, I think, knowing that, and then seeing backstage and watching Punk walk into this, man. It was great. If there's one thing that WWE does right, and I know that I'm very critical of WWE, and I know that I'm an AEW mark, if there's one thing they do right, it's triple threats. And holy crap, was this an amazing triple threat. I thought people would just think this is just going to be a one-off, fluffy main event, and we get on to Cena versus Cody. Who would have thought that this would have outshined and outperformed Cena versus Cody? Not me. I mean, from everything, the little callbacks, the nostalgia trips from the Shield to Punk, the double betrayal of Paul Heyman coming out with Punk, and then turning on Roman and Punk, siding with Seth getting, I mean, they pushed a little bit too much on the heist of the century, kind of revamping that. But man, it was such a great main event, especially for a very dull dual main event stance, if that even makes sense. But it was the better of the two main events. Number 14, WrestleMania 36, Night 1, Undertaker versus AJ Styles. I think the debate with this is, would this have been ranked higher if it was done in a traditional ring with a crowd in a stadium? I don't know. And I don't think I can really justify it not being. I mean, the Firefly Funhouse match and the Boneyard match set the tone for cinematic matches during the pandemic era that I think really kept it alive, kept it entertaining, and quite frankly, kept somewhat of an interest during a very dark time for the world and for the world of professional wrestling. This match for Undertaker's retirement, I think, brought everything together. You had the elements of the Dead Man. You had the elements of the American Badass. Man, it was fantastically done. One of my personal favorites. Again, probably just being biased because of The Undertaker. But also, I don't know if AJ and Taker could have delivered live the way they delivered in this. Now, except for AJ's hands sticking up out of the ground and being buried alive. Okay, whatever. But other than that, a perfect send-off, him getting back on the motorcycle, doing the pose, the flames going out, the Undertaker symbol in the back, and then subsequently him riding off into the sun. What better way to have a retirement than that? And I think that's what ranks this so high for me is the ability to storytell in a dark moment and do the best with what you're given. And they did that. Number 13, WrestleMania 6, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. Warrior and Hogan, the passing of the torch. What a main event. I mean, you can go back now and watch this and still feel the energy, get excited with everyone. It's what everyone was looking for in a main event at the time. Ultimate Warrior was on this trajectory, and man, if he, what could have been after that, you know, we'll never know. But I mean, the fact that Hogan was willing to do a job for someone at this time in his career and put the Ultimate Warrior over like that. Look, those splashes were heard around the world, and him holding both of the Intercontinental and the Winged Eagle title up was a WrestleMania moment and a WrestleMania memory burnt into everyone. And just the sheer brute and the strength in this main event, man, it pushed it over the edge. And for the time of what it was probably one of the greatest WrestleMania moments up to that point, and one of the greatest WrestleMania main events up to that point too. So yeah, that's why this ranks so high for me. It's just, I think that combination of everything together. Number 12, WrestleMania 39, Night 1, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos. Modern WrestleMania tag team magic. I don't think anyone expected the main event of Night 1 to do anything. I think it was just, hey, here's a night, we're waiting for Cody versus Roman. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will always put on a clinic, and the Usos will always be one of the greatest tag teams. And you put all of those elements together and you got exactly what you got in this match. I mean, it was fantastic, from the Holuva kick to, you know, the pop-up to everything about this was great. You know, the frenemy dynamic of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will always be a story, I think, that they continue to go back to the well on. The two are just fantastic performers, and then mixing that in with the Usos and just their chemistry of knowing when to be at a spot and sell on certain areas, and then putting the tag team titles for that. Whew. It surprised me that it was this good. And I think that because WWE Tag Team Wrestling has always been hit or miss. I think since the 80s, it just depends. And when you have a makeshift team, kind of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going against an established tag team, to be able to pull this off, man, it's a art. The chemistry has to be there, the dynamic has to be there, and it was, and they pulled it off, and it was a fantastic main event. Number 11, WrestleMania 37, Night 2, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. It was a clash of three eras coming to a head, and I think most people forget about that. You had Edge, who was a champion in his respected era, Bryan, who was a champion in his respective era, and Roman in his as well. And having that history all culminate together, having the storyline build up to this point. Edge had returned the year prior, has come back, won the Royal Rumble, been in this position, was in fantastic shape. Bryan Danielson was starting to wind down his WWE career. We all kind of know how that went, but was still putting on clinics. And I think that you had a feeling that could Daniel Bryan pull this off again? I said it earlier with the triple threats. WWE does triple threats, especially WrestleMania triple threats, well. Oh my, it was a wrestling clinic and it was great. And just the fact, the insult to injury of Roman stacking Daniel Bryan on top of Edge and pinning the both of them for the win solidified him as the tribal chief. And I think people then were like, all right, this guy's serious. And Tribal Chief Roman Reigns is one of the best characters I think that has ever been through WWE. And we hated this guy for being in the main event for so long, and here we are clamoring to see this, because we thought that for a second Daniel Bryan could have done it. We thought for a second Edge could have done it. At the end of the day, Roman still walks out champion, and you're not mad. And that's the magic of how well the three of these personalities and wrestling styles clashed in a great main event. Number 10, WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. All right, now we get into the nitty-gritty of the top 10 of the greatest WrestleMania main events. And this is where it starts getting good. And what better way to kick off the top 10 than with the most, in my opinion, the most iconic WrestleMania moment of all time. It's the slam heard around the world. It is the immovable object versus the unstoppable. I don't remember what Gorilla Monsoon said, but it was amazing. I can go back and watch this match over and over again. Andre was hurt, Andre was slow, and he still pulled off being a menacing giant and the biggest threat to Hulk Hogan's WWF Championship. Man, and the ending of Hogan picking him up and slamming him, the crowd going absolutely ballistic, the leg drop, the 1, 2, 3, poetry in motion, wrestling history right there. One of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. Number 9, WrestleMania 24, Undertaker versus Edge. I may be biased putting this up here, but to me, it was a fantastic year of storytelling because Undertaker had won the championship from Batista the year prior WrestleMania, got injured, had to forfeit it. Edge comes in, wins the World Heavyweight title. They have this back and forth feud, and the culmination of it coming here was amazing. The one thing that I wish they would have done, and now I'm fantasy booking, but whatever, is if you don't have Edge get carted out during that Money in the Bank to kind of save it, but he still didn't win Money in the Bank. I think that was 20. That might have been 23. It might have been the year prior. Edge is undefeated at WrestleMania, and you have streak versus streak. It was right there the whole time. I wish they would have not put Edge in that Money in the Bank match and maybe just had him do a quick throwaway win match, because you had so much momentum behind that, but it was just the streak versus the champ. The first time Undertaker won a World Heavyweight Championship with the Hell's Gate submission at the end. WrestleMania 24 is a fantastic WrestleMania. You have Michaels versus Flair. The JBL and Finlay match was surprisingly fun. I think that was a triple threat between Orton, Triple H, and Cena. You had Floyd and Big Show. I mean, it was a great time for that extent of WrestleMania. So if you can go back and watch it, great main event. Loved seeing Undertaker win back-to-back WrestleManias and back-to-back World Heavyweight Championships. Number 8, WrestleMania 37, Night 1, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. What a redemptive arc for the women's main event from the triple threat to this. Not only was it the second women's main event on a WrestleMania, it was the first of both women being black for the WWE Women's Championship. Holy, what a match. I mean, you cannot tell me that between the triple threat between Roman, Bryan, and Edge, and this match between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, I can't say one is better than the other. And I can't say that one is, well, obviously, I think this one is better than the other one, but I mean, like, to switch that. Like, should this have been on night 2? Yes. But also, no, because this was a great way for night 1. You just got back into the stadium. You just had some fans being back there. And I think that's the thing that took away from this not being ranked higher for me, was you had a minimum amount of fans versus if a full stadium was packed for that. My gosh, both women put on a clinic. Belair whipping Sasha with her hair during the middle of the match. Oh my. Number 7, WrestleMania 17, Stone Cold versus The Rock. what most people will consider the greatest WrestleMania, I will say this. The greatest WrestleMania video package with My Way. Sure, I'm a 2000s mark, born in 1992 and proud of it. My Way by Limp Bizkit and that entire video package, I think, hyped me up for this match 10 times more when I first saw it. And who saw the Stone Cold heel turn? Nobody. Nobody saw the Stone Cold heel turn coming. Like, you can't predict these things. Should you have turned Stone Cold heel? Probably not. But I mean, for the moment, for the second installment of this, definitely their middle tier match for me. Because, and honestly, as far as the way that the match rankings go, it goes 15, 17, 19. So the way that they had the trilogy is, I think, is the same exact way the matches go. But that shows, I think, the maturity in both of them and how they evolved as performers, and they knew how to do it. And yeah, just Houston, Texas being sold out for that was insane. And it was WrestleMania 17. I shit on it because it's funny to me. It is one of the greatest WrestleManias, if not the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I think you can put it in a debate of WrestleMania 39 being in there and possibly WrestleMania 40 as well. But for the time, there's no two men that are more iconic and more identifiable with WrestleMania than Stone Cold and The Rock, and this match solidified that. Number 6, WrestleMania 31, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. The heist of the century. I was watching this live, was not thrilled to have Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. When Seth's music hit and he comes flying down to the ring, almost gets F5'd, does the stomp to Roman, and wins that title. Man, WrestleMania 31 is up there for me too, like for top 5 WrestleManias, and this moment is because of that. Like, no one saw this coming. It had, like, you've done Money in the Bank cash-ins before. Not at this level, not at this stage. It was risky, especially in your main event, and inadvertently turned this into one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time by doing so. And that moment of Seth winning, the shocked look on his face, the swinging the title around the top of the ramp, my goodness gracious. Art and poetry, and it was amazing. Number 5, WrestleMania 20, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. It's always hard to reflect on this match because of who's involved. But to separate personal versus character, there's a lot of actors that have done a lot of horrible and bad things in their lives, and we still put the movies up there. I have to separate the man from the character, the wrestler at this point, because this was one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. The 20th anniversary, it had a special feel to it. It was an underdog mentality. No one thought Chris Benoit was walking out of this match World Heavyweight Champion. That's why Shawn Michaels was at it, right? No, it furthered the feud between Michaels and Triple H, which we were kind of tired of anyway, but it was coming to the end, which was fine. But man, Chris Benoit making Triple H tap out, and the tears, the heavyweight title being held, and Eddie Guerrero coming out to hug his friend at the time and celebrate together is one of the greatest pictures in WrestleMania history, and it hurts my heart that it's so tainted. And it's probably why, for me, this is ranked up there at 5 and not closer to the top 3, because it is unfortunate. And yeah, that's all I'll say on it. Number 4, WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. The first ever Iron Man main event in WrestleMania history. I know that people have this ranked higher in other lists, but man, the debate is, why have an Iron Man match when you're only going to have one fall anyway? I think that's the beauty of it. I think that it's such a technical masterpiece that in an hour, these men couldn't pin each other. They are so good at their skill and their profession, they couldn't pin each other, not even once in an hour. I know that we like to watch Iron Man matches for how many falls versus how many falls, but man, this match was a technical masterclass in my opinion, and the end, the boyhood dream has come true. Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania because of this reason. Bret Hart is one of the greatest wrestlers because of this reason. I know they both had their personal heat, and I think that made this even better, but they both knew what was best for business when it came to getting in that ring and working together. And I think that they are both one of the greatest rivalries that we'll ever see in wrestling history. And it was a culmination here at WrestleMania 12 in this Iron Man match that proved that. Number 3, WrestleMania 26, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. If WrestleMania 25 was the main event, it would be number 1. This would be a very close number 2, hence is why it's number 3 here. Fantastic storytelling. I don't think I have to say much about this match because it was basically a copy and paste from the year before. It wasn't as good as the prior year, but just as well. I mean, that's like saying that you have a tomahawk steak and a filet mignon next to each other. They're both amazing, but one is better than the other. I mean, my goodness, the storytelling behind this, the ultimatum, this being Shawn's last match because he never did anything after this, was fantastic. And going out, the crawling up on Undertaker's stomach, the clawing, and Taker, the slap to the face, and Taker just not having it, and doing the final tombstone was the nail in the coffin. And man, the build up to this match too as well. I mean, if you can go back and watch this rivalry from all the way from WrestleMania 25 up to this point, if you have the time, do it, because it was fantastic storytelling. Number 2, WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista. What is there to say about this? The Daniel Bryan arc of that time was nothing short of perfection. The fact that this main event almost didn't happen is insane. And this is ranked number 2 because 1, it's a fantastic match. 2, it was the first time in professional wrestling history where fans hijacked the main event and our voices spoke to a juggernaut of a company to change something because we wanted our guy and we didn't know if our guy was going to get it. And wrestling the 2 matches in the same night, Michael Cole screaming out the miracle on Bourbon Street, the celebration with the fans, it was a almost near perfect main event, and that's why it's number 2 on here. It is the culmination of sports entertainment, professional wrestling, emotion, storytelling, feelings. I get goosebumps just thinking about that moment, and I think that's for a lot of people. And the match itself was fantastic. The Batista bomb into the RKO. We really thought that Batista was going to win the championship, and then the Batista bomb to Randy, and Daniel Bryan comes out of nowhere with the kick and locks in the not the label lock, you know what I mean. It's a great match. Go back and watch it. Number 1, WrestleMania 40, Night 2, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Here we are. Number 1. In my opinion, the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time. Is it recency biased? Is it because it's in the greatest city in the entire world? Philadelphia Eagles, go Skullbirds. I don't know. All I know is this. I was on the edge of my seat, like at 100, just zoomed into this match. Cody's defining moment. Oh my goodness gracious. The match itself was already amazing. The run-ins, Solo, John Cena, The Rock, and The Undertaker. Now, Undertaker's my personal favorite. I said this already. Is my favorite wrestler of all time. Fine. So I was glad to see him. as an Undertaker fan, I can sit here and tell you, if that glass would have shattered, if Stone Cold Steve Austin would have came out instead of The Undertaker, it still would have been number one, but it would have been a million miles away number one. It was very hard between WrestleMania 30 to WrestleMania 40, and I think that speaks to WWE's credit of how well they do those anniversary shows from 20 to 30 to 40. I mean, oh my gosh, like WrestleMania 50 is going to be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, my gosh, like those sequence of moments. And was it silly shenanigans? Yes. Did it make sense? No. But at the end of the day, Cody Rhodes defeated Roman Reigns to win his first ever WWE Undisputed World Championship, and it is a moment that we will never forget. So there it is. Let me know what your favorite matches were. Let us know what your list would be. Tell me if I'm completely off in the comments down below if this wasn't the right list or anything. So that's all, folks. I hope that you enjoyed this installment of Mike V's Top 10 different format. Let us know if you want to do more of this format here. Be more interactive so you can kind of see me while I'm doing this. This time to turn into a top 47, but oh well. Of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. Again, make sure that you are subscribed to WSN wherever you're watching WSN from. Make sure you stay tuned and keep an eye out for the app. We're very excited for that. Had a lot of fun putting this list together for you. I hope that you have a blessed day and happy WrestleMania season. It's coming up, so make sure that you are ready for WrestleMania. And where are these main events gonna rank on next year's list? We'll have to find out.